finishing the LPL on a very positive scoreline. So an exciting time to be an RNG fan, especially after such a huge rebuild this year.
Yeah, most definitely. And I feel like it does give this RNG roster a lot of room to breathe and kind of perfect their craft, as we already see a lot of positive signs from this roster so far. But going into Game 2's draft, the Azir has already been taken off, so RNG anticipating something where they are looking for that lane party in the mid lane 2v2, but Annie has also been taken away. So my question is Ahri and Wukong or slash Vi going to become the next up-and-coming champion for the side of AL to kind of take away?
It's weird, isn't it, seeing Nico banned on the blue side? It feels like it doesn't compute properly. Look at this, 3 mid lane bans from AL, not letting anything through for Tangyuan with the Azir and the Nico ban as well. 5 mid laners off the table. It's not often you see that. And then obviously Xiaohao always being denied. Way goes for the Vi, and the answer likely to be the Svellios.
iBoy surprisingly does not have a lot of Aphelios games so far into this summer split. His most played is that Xayah, and I feel like the reason is because AL, they look the most comfortable and they find the most success when they're playing champions with a lot of high mobility, playmaking potential, where Zor is on something like the Rakan, but it is going to be the Millia for this game too. But I'm just saying, AL, when they're given champions with mobility, it's a lot harder to kind of execute onto their mistakes where they are mispositioned and they have a lot of playmaking potential. But surprisingly, they're going to prioritize this Millia over something like the Rakan, where I'm getting a little bit worried because I feel like you don't have a lot of engaged tools unless you see Xiaohao locking in that Wukong, which is going to be the third pick.
Very likely to be that Wukong available for Xiaohao. Is Millia taken off the board? RNG, where do they want to go? The Aphelios was hovered for a long time by AL, but it seems like LP is going to snag that one away. And like you said, Rakan available if Luma would like to take that one, lock in your bottom lane, but instead going for a mid lane matchup with the Syndra locked in against Harder.
Love the confidence flowing out of Tangyuan in this game, or at least the series, because he is just eagling the mid lane matchup, getting that lane party once again. I prefer the Syndra, as you do match this Ahri, but I feel like when it comes to these 5v5 skirmishes at the major objective, she is such a high presence. But no, it's not going to be the Wukong prioritized for Xiaohao. It is going to be the Jinx lock-in for AL, but you have to remember champions like the Blitzcrank and the Nautilus still are up and available for the side of RNG, and they can easily punish these 2 champions in the bottom lane, which do want to scale and look for the late game. So they're going to most likely take that away in this banning phase. But we have to also talk about the jungle pool being up and available, because I feel like Xiaohao, he has also found the most success on champions like the Lee Sin and the Wukong. He can potentially look for Sejuani and Jax in that top side, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. Sejuani, you mentioned, does get banned away. So, I mean, Maokai is available, but whether or not you want to go for that with Ahri in the mid lane is a different question. Nocturne, Kha'Zix too. It's going to be the Nocturne locked in for Xiaohao. So we said we wanted to carry jungle. That certainly ticks that box.
I mean, yes, Nocturne makes the most sense here, as it does have a lot of great synergy alongside Ahri, but I feel like if you're gonna go with this approach for the draft of AL, something like the Rakan would have made so much sense. You're up against a hyper carry in the bottom lane. It's either going to be the Aphelios or the Kai, so we're not too sure about that one, but for the game 2, it is going to be the Aphelios, where you get your hands so easily onto the enemy team, but the Millia and the Jinx in the bottom lane. So I'm gonna have to wait and see how they do in the early game, because they just have to survive and pray they get to that 3-item spike.
We'll see if they can. Yumi is wide open right here. They've got the engage with the Vi, and Breathes for Renekton was certainly an engaged tool in the previous game. Yumi would just buff up LP, make it so that he can dominate those team fights. And well, you've got an Ahri and a Nocturne that all want to dive on top of LP. He's going to be at Aphelios with a cat on his shoulder. That's a tough thing to dive.
Yeah, and like you said, the Maokai was up and available, but AL, they want to stay away from triple AP in that top side. But I didn't expect RNG to take the match scaling with scaling approach in the bottom lane, where it is going to be the dreaded Yumi versus Milio matchup. But I feel like once again, it's all going to be about the presence of both junglers, where this Vi is going to be having so much playmaking potential in that lane. Forcing flashes out of either the Jinx or the Milio is going to be the key, while AL, they heavily depend on those level 6s to get anything done, because if you look, all of their hard CC is pretty much from Hada. And that's going to be a skill shot that you can potentially miss.
It certainly is. Could be a tough one. Harder. Got to be on point with those charms. It kind of needs a bit of a redemption game, honestly, after game number 1 of the series. But a lot of eggs in his basket. See what he can do with it if they can convert. Anyone's Legend, definitely a team that, you know, have in previous years been such a fun team to watch. And Xiaohao, you know, when he gets on that Lee Sin, still living up to that old Rogue Warriors reputation, but unfortunately, the Lee Sin pretty much just banned against them every single game more recently. And when you see them playing the more standard meta compositions, it often feels a little lackluster. So we'll see what they can do here against RNG, who, let's be honest, in game number 1 just looked fantastic.
Yeah, RNG riding up the mojo from their previous weeks and going into this game with full confidence with how game 1 went, but it's all going to be about how Hada is going to be able to redeem himself in that mid lane on the Ahri for this game 2. Something less punishing, where you do have that Spear Rush available to kind of get away in those sticky situations. But I do also want to kind of highlight that Tangyuan on the Syndra. I mean, you can punish this champion in the early stages, make Xiaohao walk towards that mid lane and force the flashes out, while we have a bit of a dance-off in this top side.
I just love that both games of this series, the top lane is like, look, nothing's happening at level 1.
They're vibing.
This is not an interactive lane. Let's just have a bit of a dance up top. I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, I like it when players do this kind of stuff. It's the project one, yeah. Yeah. He's a like Robo-Croc kind of vibe. I actually know if he's a robot. It looks kind of robotic.
I'm not the biggest fan of Project. It was cool for the first like 5 champions Riot released with Project, and then it became a bit stale. I think there's probably around 20 champions with Project skins now, and they're getting a little bit uninspiring.
They kind of overdid it, didn't they?
Yeah.
Speaking of
it's
overdoing
like Star Guardian.
LP and Lumao kind of overdoing it in the tricks. I don't know how they started level 1 with half HP on both of them, but yeah, not ideal. Not ideal for them. I think Star Guardian.
Not.
At least with Star Guardian, they there's like a bit of a story there. At least they like bring out a new bit of story every time. Yeah. Like that. I think that's kind of cool. I'm not really into it, but like I think it's a cool concept. It's a cool idea of a skin line where they like extend the story when new characters get a skin. Whereas, yeah, I don't know, Project's kind of just the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, one of my favorite skins in the game is Project Mordekaiser, and that's because when Mordekaiser drags you into his ultimate, you get teleported to another dimension. Like, Riot pretty much rebuilt the entire game to have towers and everything around to make you feel like you're in a futuristic world. But we also have to talk about how RNG's bottom lane, very low, but Wei is around here. There is a ward protecting them, but AL is really overpushed here.
Yeah, Wei's tried to sneak over, but really good vision coverage of that river. You can see a ward there on your screen. There was a ward in the river brush at bot lane as well. So nothing that Wei can do to influence the bottom lane. I don't know what happened at level 1 for LP and Lumao to have lost half their health bar before the lane even began. But my goodness, iBoy and Zora stepping up. We've got the Jinx Milio. It's certainly a powerful lane.
That's the game.
Xiaohao moves in. Good stun though onto Harder. Shimming Tangyuan walks away. Is Wei threatening the potential re-engage, but doesn't actually want the fight.
No summoners exchange in the mid lane while we have junglers kind of trading scuttle crabs, but I think Hada, if they want the mid lane 2v2 to work, it has to be through a flash charm from this Ahri. As Tony does manage to escape, but are they going to look for something onto LP? I don't think they have the setup to burn any flashes out of the affiliates. But let's theorize what happened level 1. I'm assuming LP and Lumao, because they didn't need to leash, they just pretty much walked up, tried to force that level 2 early on, but AL, they were hiding in the bush, so they got 2 orders off.
Must have been. As, hey, They're back in lane. They're only 3 CS down. It'll all be fine. They started with a kill. They'll be chilling. No kills went down, no summoners were burnt. So ultimately, doesn't lead to too much. ZDZ flashes early on in the play, but they don't have the damage. They can't actually force the dive, and he will survive the attempt.
The difference is literally the 2 cloth armors that ZDZ managed to build into his pockets. I feel like without those 2, RNG at least gets that first blood into Wei's pockets, but luckily for the side of AL, that isn't going to happen, as we do have Wei securing that top scuttle while we have the exchange of that, but Wei, he can look for a flash onto Haruhi.
Wei does need to be a little cautious, does not want to be pinched. If the charm lands, followed by the fear, you can be in big trouble. It's Tangyuan gonna trade quite aggressively. Thing is, Harder's completely out of mana. This is a tough one for Harder to pull off. The flash not gonna be used as the stun comes through. Just baited and outsmarted. He thought he was safe because Xiaohao was in the river, but he was very wrong.
AL had an entire line of vision towards his top side. Even Xiaohao was hovering. Harder had no right to be that far up. It was just through a stun out of Tangyuan the EQ, and Wei didn't even need to burn the flash, and that's first blood into the Syndra's pockets. Did they not spot the Vi in the bush?
Ah, so he keeps channeling it until the vision vanishes. They think he's gone. Oh, this is so smart from RNG.
But Xiaohao
and they
put
just
the wall
never
down,
checked the brush.
So Wei was obviously not over the wall, and Harder, I mean, he was trying to get his wave in.
He must have thought he'd gone to the wolves. He must have thought that he'd already gone to the wolves, and man, I mean, the way that Wei postured at that wall, charging his Q until the vision vanished, that's so 5-ed from him. Like, really nicely played by Wei to set up the kill.
Yeah, and something that's just a little bit funny, looking at the items, there's just 1 item available for the bottom lane, and there's 6 filled up for Tangyuan. Tangyuan's full build right now at 6 minutes. But, you know, we talked about the mid lane 2v2 being the most important coming into this series, and once again, Wei being the proactive one, while Xiaohao desperately needs that level 6 spike to work towards the side lane. They are going to start up the dragon, but Tangyuan is level 6. Both mid laners have that ultimate available.
I mean, there's no way RNG are contesting this, right? Like, the bottom lane was in base as it started. Wei's actually going to go for it. Charges into the pit. Trying to just ego this one. Goes for the potential 50-50, but didn't have vision. Is in a little bit too late. And now LP arrives, and he is not looking to save minions here. He's not looking to hold the wave. He's looking to clear and pressure.
Wei is just getting to do whatever he wants in this game. Even going to the Dragon Pit late, I feel like AL potentially could have looked for a slight punish, at least get the flash out from Xiaohao and Zora being there. But he is going to get away scratch-free as LP now on the red and white, looking for plates towards his bottom side. And I think Wei, he's around 1 camp of 6, so he can also start hovering and put pressure on iBoy.
So, attempt on the plates. They got the 1 plate already earlier on. iBoy, these Prowling projectiles are really starting to chunk already. LP doing a good job of just getting that damage out as well. You know, the level 1 went a little bit pear-shaped, but things seem to have righted themselves for LP and Lumao, feeling confident once again in that bottom lane. And I am looking towards iBoy and Zora this game. Like, you've got the Milio on your composition, you've got a Jinx. Like, that's a hell of a combo for the team fights, having so much range between the two. Can they make the game happen for them?
Wei dodged the vision. iBoy doesn't know.
Once again, Wei's found a route into the jungle. Drops a ward to check if anyone's coming, but he's not been spotted yet. There we go. Xiaohao was just spotted and is level 6. That's got to be enough for RNG to call off the play.
AL did manage to spot the ward that Wei placed down, so they know that something's fishy, as iBoy and Zora did manage to back off. But something that I wanted to credit to Wei in this summer split that he's been doing as a consistent trend is he plays so well around vision, where you just find him in very unexpected creases. But AL, they are so low to contest this. You gotta get out, Zora!
No, the Graviton! Oh, it's not a Calibrum auto. It wasn't Calibrum, so Zora won't go down. Actually, I think it was Calibrum. I think it just didn't quite kill him. Close one there for Zora. That's both of his summoners now on cooldown. And that will be an opportunity now for LP and Lumao to crash another wave and probably get a second play.
I mean, complete control for RNG. Getting those deep wards in as well. Is Wei gonna make it over? He did get spotted on vision because the minion wave just went past him. So they do know that there's a Vi living in this bottom lane. Xiaohao does have the ultimate available. Can they put a ward down? Quick, quick, quick.
Wei, he's trying to escape here. Should be able to get away with this one, I would think. With the bottom lane pushing in, he can just kind of walk past the tower. His bot lane is here to support him. And the tower will be finished off. This Liu Mao just getting a little bit of bonus gold from his support item onto the tower. The resets will come on through. And they'll get out of dodge. Just Breathe is like, oh, the junglers are in the bottom side of the map, are they? Well, I'll just stop proxy farming.
Yep, classic Breathe, but you can already tell with AL's approach into this game too, with the Ornn getting locked in for ZDZ, saved for that counter spot, and also the Jinx and Milio. They are looking for the late game scaling, and luckily for them, the game has been relatively slow by RNG so far. Not a lot of forces coming out of Wei, but a lot of denial of XP for iBoy, so they can't really let that happen too often, as it is going to eventually build up into an immense bleed, but only one dragon so far, and it is into AL's pocket, so pretty good.
And you get to see a little bit of what the Jinx Milio combo can do there, as use the cozy campfire, use the extended range of the fish bones, but won't be able to get too much more of it, as LP just gonna have to settle for Krugs for the time being, is afraid of what's being brought to the table by AL with Xiaohao in the bottom side of the map. And that's going to be 2 solo plays for iBoy. That is not bad at all. Flame Chompers land as well, but Infernum to answer. Here we go, the dive underneath the tower. Roots can't come on through, and Xiaohao gets away with it. Zora low on HP. The flash forwards from Tang Yuan, just to guarantee one. Xiaohao forced to flash as well. It's a 1-for-1 so far, as Tang Yuan won't find more.
Rightfully punished by AL, as LP just took way too much damage from iBoy, but like you said, the kill going into Tang Yuan's pocket, now 2-0 on the Syndra as Wei picks up this mid lane wave. I mean, they're still more than happy with the current game state. I feel like ulting the Milio was a little bit of an overkill. Perhaps Tang Yuan could have just flash Q'd, gotten the kill onto the support and saved her ultimate for Nocturne, but we'll have another look at this replay as the ultimate from iBoy completely blind. I'm assuming trying to stop LP's back, or at least reset to secure even more plates, but he didn't expect LP to just kind of giga chat and walk back into lane, while LP had no flash, and Xiaohao very coincidentally also hovering in this bottom side does mean they get a kill into their pockets, and Tang Yuan getting a 1-for-1.
Bit of a weird one, honestly. When like you say, the rocket from iBoy I think was just aimed at the brush to try and stop a recall. Then LP, like, the reason you were on Crux in the first place is Xiaohao is in the area, right? Like, why are you walking back towards the tower then? Bit of a weird one from LP, an uncharacteristic mistake. But now moving towards that mid lane, and the tower in the bottom side was finished off. I'm going to assume that the Herald was placed during that replay. So Tang Yuan, I would imagine, got a whole bunch of that gold.
Yep, the Rift Herald was placed towards that bottom, and we are going to see the RNG squad now work towards this mid lane and secure some of that vision control. There are no major objectives up for either side, so I think with the way that Tang Yuan was able to pick up that extra kill in the bottom lane, Wei has to hover around the Syndra and try to really utilize this Luden spike from Tang Yuan, and that's the way to go, because Liu Mao and LP, he has Flash coming up very soon, so he shouldn't really be under any threat from AL.
Oh, LP's in trouble. Harder goes forward looking for the charm onto the Aphelios, but the sustain is there. Red and white weapons as well as they try and dive onto him, but he's taken down. They find 2. They find their answer. Tang Yuan now has to save the play and Breathe charging forwards. This is 3v4, and they're still going forwards, but they won't be able to close the gap.
A 2-for-0 trade for AL, and they just walk away scratch-free. I mean, iBoy's on the wrong side of the map, but can he get away from this?
Breathe really wants to try and find him. He's going to go into the back of Wolf Pit
He's
to
out.
recall. He should get away with this one. Nobody's even looking for him at this point. It's Tang Yuan. Can't quite find anything. And it felt like, you know, Tang Yuan has been the hero of this series for RNG. It feels like Tang Yuan has been the main character of this series. But unfortunately, too little too late from him. Couldn't carry the fight. And once again, LP caught out.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about how RNG's bottom lane should be relatively safe if they stay mid lane. But they were spotted clearing out wards towards this riverside, and like you said, Tangyun didn't make it fast enough towards this fight. We all thought LP could have lived, but that extra bit of damage from the Milio Q finished him off. And it did end up in a 2-0 trade, while RNG, they committed pretty much everything for this fight. Also, the TP out of Breathe, so if they do want to look for the next fight, Breathe does have to make his way there, while ZDZ has the pleasure of just using that TP himself.
Yeah, so AL with a kill lead, and we have seen some good stuff from them. I don't exactly know how, but RNG still have themselves a 2,000 gold lead. I guess the tower in the bottom side, Breathe building himself a big lead in the top lane, getting a couple of plates, proxying, taking Krug camps over and over again. And the fact that Tangyuan has been soaking up so much gold in these scraps does mean, despite the best efforts of AL, RNG are still ahead. But I feel like AL have the tools this time, you know? They're like Harder having a much better game than he did in game number 1. The combination with Xiaohao is so potent. Trying to find LP, trying to dive onto him. And then iBoy with Emilio alongside him really can be that team fight carry. Dare I say it, but I'm starting to believe in AL.
Believe all you want, because I feel like this is what AL is most comfortable with, as Xiaohao and Harder having the Nocturne and Ahri so much flank potential onto RNG's carries, where I feel like the mid jungle of AL, they really stand out when they are given these high mobility champions where they can cheat tempo and get their hands onto the immobile AD carry. But that also means iBoy all man for themselves, and he's on a Jinx, but luckily he also has Zora on the Milios. So RNG, they need to look for these flank angles from Breathe. He does have the flash available.
We're gonna play this one safe. Oh, it's a deep TP. And in fact, it's a double TP. RNG in big trouble here. ZDZ, Call of the Forge God to knock them up. LP the target, but they're not actually diving onto him for the time being. And Breed is playing bodyguard. It's Tangyuan to go down first, but it's answered as iBoy is caught. And now ZDZ has to get out of dodge. Flashes to safety as Harder looks for more. 1-for-1 so far. A carry for a carry.
They don't have the wave clear to stop this, or then ZDZ, he's getting re-engaged on.
Yeah, diving further for this one. But they won't be able to find anything more. Tower taken down. It's a 1-for-1, but RNG still winning out. Drake up in 35 seconds. The resets have got to come through.
Not gonna lie, that was really nice from AL. Xiaohao closes the lights, and AL instantly commit the double TP onto that ward that you see in the mid lane. And RNG, they were completely clueless. However, now resetting for this top side, you already see Tangyun using that TP. I'm assuming that RNG, they want to look towards this Rift Herald, not the Dragon, as you don't have your main carry in the fight. It would be really surprising if RNG Wei at least decided to take this. It is going to be Tangyun walking his way to mid lane.
Oh, Zora's been caught. That's a flash right before a Drake fight. Not ideal for AL. Now, Milio flash, not the most valuable of everyone in the game, but even still, you don't want to be caught right before Drake. And that, by the looks of the positioning on the map, this is just going to be Drake given over to RNG. That'll be their second, and a mountain as well.
Wow, that was a really clean spell shield.
Yeah, good stuff from Xiaohao. He's looking for the Herald right here as Wei doing the Drake. They should be able to get this. Doesn't look like RNG are going to try and double dip in the objectives.
And AL is more than happy with the current game state. I mean, they were able to deny that first dragon away very early on in the game, so they're not stressed about the early soul point, while AL, they are going to pick up the wave in the top side now. But look at this play again. It's Xiaohao closing the lights on this Nocturne and forcing the double TPs out of the solo laners from AL, and then they were able to get their hands onto Tangyun instantly. Tangyun had the flash available, but it just wasn't enough. And that's how AL really wants to play these team fights. Just playing for flank is the way to go.
I'm surprised ZDZ didn't try and use his ult onto LP there, to be honest, and look for a little bit more. It felt like Tangyuan was pretty much a guaranteed kill at the time. I love the way that Wei is playing this fight today. Like, he is constantly looking for ways in, constantly playing around vision, constantly trying to find opportunities to start a fight, start a pick. I do feel like he's very much become this like confident leader figure within RNG, which is really pleasant to see. I feel like Lumao as well, having a I almost said weirdly good split, which sounds really insulting, but to be honest, Lumao has had a pretty rough couple of years. I feel like on this RNG squad. He's looking a lot better than he has in quite a while.
Yeah, most definitely, and he is seemingly fitting this RNG roster with his veterancy alongside Wei, where you have rookies like LP and Tangyan stepping up as the carries, but I feel like you've been saying, Wei is extremely proactive in this game, but you have to be, because you have to remind the audience that they're up against an Ornn, Jinx, and Milio, but you can't have the game go to late.
Zap comes through, Flash, Gale Force, both used just to keep himself safe as tower will go down here, or will it? Actually, minion's going to be cleared. No, tower does fall. Breathe. Denied entry into the play. There's RNG now. They're like, you know what? You're on the top side of the map. We're just going to run it down mid. We're going to try and find an opportunity onto your tower instead. Xiao Hao slowed down. We'll get underneath that tower. Can the rest of the team arrive to reinforce? Looks like it. They should be able to just clear this wave. LP using that Calibrum to try and siege. Getting Gravitums down. Getting a lot of damage down, actually.
LP is utilizing his range so nicely on this Achilles, but no Call of the Forge, no ultimates from AL, so it's going to be really hard trying to fight off the siege. They have to reset for the tempo, but Baron's coming up very soon. Oh, no way. We just cursed him. Oh, well.
That was really greedy. He, so moves to the back of the pit to try and get the red and then Q out, but iBoy just puts Flame Chompers on him, and I believe his flash was still a couple of seconds on cooldown there, so unfortunately can't get anything. Harder though, might get caught on this top side. He's greeding for a caster minion. At 14 gold, rush. Was it worth it?
It's not worth it.
He's greeding for an entire extra wave. As he was moving down that way, the stun comes on through. His hard dashes over the wall.
Breeze on the other side,
waiting for him. No flash available for him though. The charm, the Everfrost's gonna come on through. Xiao Hao moving over is harder. Has to flash away. So no summoner's burn for RNG. Summoner burn on the side of AL.
I mean, the great escape for this Ahri. All 4 dashes burnt for that extra bit of wave. I'm assuming it was an item spike, but we get a replay of the charm hitting onto Wei. And like you said, the Chompers being the main difference in this, where he wasn't able to get out, even charging up the Q. And just a little bit of a over greed from the jungle of RNG. And they can't make these tiny mistakes because AL, they've made their way back to an even game state, and with the dragon spawning in 1 minute and 20 seconds, AL can potentially look to start up the Baron and force a flip or force a turn onto RNG with the lights closing out.
Do you know what's happened there is Wei is definitely thinking that's a good death, you know, because at the end of the day, now only Xiao Hao gets red buff instead of Xiao Hao and iBoy, who, by the way, AL iBoy, every time I look at it, I'm like, Ali Boy? Who's Ali Boy? It just doesn't, it never quite reads right in my head, but yeah. Denying the second red buff, definitely a calculated play from Wei, definitely not just being really greedy. TP to the bottom side though, from Harder wants to join the rest of his team. Is Drake coming up in 35 seconds?
I mean, you already see that AL, they do have the vision planted down. There is a really nice ward at the back, so ZDZ can utilize this if they want to get their hands onto the carriers of RNG, but AL, they're more than happy with this game state right now. No one is really under any threat as pink wards are getting placed down.
Keep your eyes on iBoy. He's actually used Ghost here. He obviously thought the fight was about to kick off as stun comes out.
Oh, look at Bree.
Wei has to flash. Luckily had it from the previous play. As here we go, onto LP, everybody charges on through. The red and white weapons just ain't enough for the kitty cats alone. And RNG completely caught unawares.
Yeah, now AL says, take your 3rd dragon of the game because we're just gonna do a 22-minute Baron because they get those hands onto LP and AL. A much more convincing game in this game too.
Breathe and Tangyuan are moving towards the Baron pit. Are they going to try and do a 2v5 for the Baron here? Looks like they've seen better of it. They're going to back away.
He wants
will get
the
the
double.
Baron. Okay. Good attempt on the rocket. It's a little early. Wei will be able to secure himself that Drake. So RNG, sole point, but AL, what a pick into a Baron, a 3k gold lead. It's all looking good for the Panda Warriors.
The problem is that, yes, LP has been kind of getting caught out in this game too. You see these two instances where he's a little bit overstepped in the mid lane and AL just drops the ultimates onto the Aphelios. But you also have to remind yourselves that it's not just the Aphelios dying, it's also the Yuumi, and it forces a 3v5 situation. Tangyun on the side lane has to burn the flash, might not even need to. He just straight up dies.
What do you do? What the hell do you do when Nocturne is just spinning around, just annihilating you? He moves so fast, you're feared, you're got no vision. Yeah, you just can't do anything. Spell shields the stun as well. Really nicely played by Xiaohao. And Tangyun caught out, and I feel like Xiaohao is having a masterclass on the Nocturne right here. Like, just showing us how the hell you're meant to play this champion. Carrying the game. We said we wanted a carry from Xiaohao. I mean, this is a carry performance and a half.
Yeah, Xiaohao definitely delivering with this Nocturne performance in this game too, but we'll get a replay of how this all went down. It was just closing the lights, but RNG not playing alongside their AD carry in this mid lane. AL pulling the trigger instantly, and RNG on the receiving end had no idea what was happening in this mid lane. And it's kind of just a dead AD carry, even with the Gale Force and Flash available on the Aphelios. But there's a fight going on in mid lane. Breathe has the flank.
Oh, it's a hell of a flank from Breathe as well. ZDZ, Call of the Forge God, denied by this Breathe flank. His front line versus the world on both sides. His iBoy dived on by way, but he can't finish the kill off, and he goes down instead. ZDZ with the knockups, and Harder jumps in as well. But LP still alive this time. Tangyuan alongside him as iBoy gets a double on the other side. Rocket comes in. It's a 2-for-1, and AL win it out.
AL playing the front to back perfectly, focusing down way instantly. As RNG, they do come out on the losing end. Maybe a kill into Tangyuan. He flashes in.
He had his ultimate, but he doesn't manage to find the target. I think he was slightly out of range as Harder turns gold, and Tangyuan's in trouble. And Xiaohao finishes him with a max range Q.
And RNG, they're looking desperate in these team fights. And AL, they're going to look for this mid lane tower now. LP is so incredibly low. Xiaohao, his ultimate's coming up in around 15 seconds.
Man,
You got to be careful, buddy.
The
He's got
zaps are
smited.
so oppressive. The slow is insane, and the follow-up from AL is beautiful. iBoy, we said that this combo of the Milio and the Jinx has to pop off, and sure, they've not been getting the kills, but look at the kill participation from them both, right? These zaps and then the follow-up autos are doing so much.
Yeah, and you look at this team fight by AL. Wei goes in and gets his hands onto iBoy where he thought it was going to be a pick, but AL playing the front to back perfectly, instantly focused down the front line of RNG while Breathe was also struggling to close the gap. And I feel like this mobility out of Harder as well, just such a nuisance to deal with, while Tangyuan and LP desperately trying to get into the whole mix of everything. But I feel like after Tangyuan kind of messes up mechanically here, trying to go for the kill onto iBoy, perhaps even a double kill, LP should have just left this tier 2 tower. He shouldn't have stayed, as it was just another kill going to Xiaohao's pockets.
Yeah, tries to defend, thinks with the Inferno maybe he can do it, but against the Baron minions, they're the zap slow. Look at that. There's just nothing he can do.
I mean,
Chased
the
on
range
through.
as well. And the smite to finish off the deal from Xiaohao. Another 2 kills into this Nocturne's hole. 9-0, by the way. They're more than happy to straight up fight you at this final soul dragon for the side of RNG, but I don't think they will ever have the situation to ever walk in. So yeah. RNG's composition now kind of falling apart with the Renekton and Vi slowly falling off.
And it looked so good in that previous fight, right, for RNG with Breathe on the big deep flank. The thing is, like, if you're just looking at Wei, it looks like a bit of a dodgy engage onto iBoy, right? But the thing is, LP, Lumao, and Tangyuan are all about to follow up on that play, except Harder then jumps over the wall from Raptors, gets a charm onto LP, completely denies any potential follow-up onto the engage onto iBoy, and then ZDZ charges and actually sacrifices himself to find that knock-up and deny it further. So the solo laners of AL really popping off in these fights, and a fantastic second game from them. Because honestly, after watching the first game, I had basically no hope for it.
Oh, sorry, you don't want to be there.
No! Oh, he thought he was safe. I'm pretty
That's
sure that was blind
gone.
from Tangyuan as well. ZDZ out next target. He is tanky though. The CC chain is going to do a lot. ZDZ down to half of his HP. Ornhorn going to come on through. It's a big knock up. The rocket over the wall as well. And in comes Xiaohao. go. But LP turns golden,
The
has the red gun
stopwatch?
harder now on his own and CC'd up. It's going to be LP grabbing kills here as Shahow's over the wall. The stopwatch keeps him alive. Zap comes through to try and defend the jungle up, but they're all gone. And just as we start to credit AL, it all falls apart. But iBoy on the scene, can he do it? No! Taken down an RNG. They get themselves a soul.
How did AL fumble this team fight? I mean, Zora gets picked off by a blind engage from Tangyuan and LP on the Sephiroth. I mean, don't look at the KDA because this guy pretty much did the absolute most DPS you can expect out of the Sephiroth, and they do secure this final Mountain Soul for the side of RNG.
It's so devastating for AL. By no means is the game over for RNG here. This is them coming back. They certainly don't have the advantage yet. But that Mountain Soul, you know, the problems people always talk about with Renekton is how well you scale later on, whether or not you're a proper frontline in the late game team fights. Well, Mountain Soul will certainly help in that regard, make him a little bit tankier so he can try and be that beefy frontline. But you can see the build he's going for. Like, he wants to do damage.
Yeah, he wants to one-shot iBoy in an instant, but with that Baron or Dragon going into RNG's pockets, they're more than happy to contest vision onto this Baron now. But, I mean, the game was so well set up for AL, you just had to play around the fact that RNG desperately looking to contest for this final Dragon, but Zora overextending, trying to get a flank ward for Xiaohao, at least set up this Nocturne to find those angles onto the Aphelios. Call up the Forge, goes down, at least he puts it out before he dies, but the stopwatch out of this Aphelios made the difference. I mean, he was levitating in the air, but even LP putting out all that damage on the Xiaohao, now going over towards Hada. iBoy was pretty much not in this fight at all on the Jinx and does fall as that final piece to AL, but they're gonna start the Baron.
They might just be able to do it as well. 2k remaining onto it. Wei gets in the pit, but it's too late. And now ZDZ trying to get onto that back line as LP just doing DPS. That's one down. It's RNG on retreat now. Breathe on the flank, but can't really go for it. Yeah, you're right. The TP, it's pretty deep. And LP, oh, he's in all kinds of trouble here. Needs to find iBoy, but won't find anything. AL might just have done it here. It's hard against the resets and looks for more as well. Tangyuan flashes over the wall, keeps himself alive as Breathe taken down, and the chase down begins for iBoy. The true damage is there. The ace comes through, and the Panda Warriors will bring us to 3.
I mean, this game was always supposedly an AL win. Let's just pretend that final Dragon fight was just a blip under the radar because they're gonna manage to take this game, or at least the series, to that game 3. And Xiaohao, wonderful performance on this Nocturne, and once again being the carry of AL.
Wei's respawning. LP's up in 5 seconds. I don't think it's soon enough. I think this is gonna go down. And AL finish this one off. We're going to 3 games, and RNG left wondering what on earth happened because Xiaohao popped the hell off.
Pretty much the lights turned off, Wei went in, and you saw the disconnect out of the RNG squad where no follow-up whatsoever for this buy to work off. And although